There one, that one. And so I'm just going to hit record. If everyone could put themselves on mute for the time being, so that in case there's any background, because it just makes you jump on the main screen. Can you all hear me okay? Yeah. Okay. So today we're going to be talking to a real life VA who has gone through, not knowing what a virtual assistant to where she is today. I'm not going to share too much. So Katie is one of the students on our very first cohort that went on the mental lead course. And what I wanted to do is invite her along to talk to you so that you can hear things from the horse's mouth, because it's all well and good me trying to keep sharing. I know I bang on a lot about creating this for yourselves that could be amazing, and you could have this freedom. And I mean, I know I always say it's all the good parts. There are things that aren't so good about being a VA, but there are very few. And I really feel passionately that this is something that can suit so many women in their lives and create something for themselves, that I really, really want to share it with you. But I also think that it's really good to get somebody else's perspective. So I've invited Katie along, and really we're just going to have a bit of a chat, to be honest with you. I want her to walk us through her story. I will probably interject with any questions that come up that I think might be valuable to you along the way. And then we'll have an opportunity for you to ask questions at the end. So without further ado then, that I introduce Katie.
Hello.
Hi.
No, it's really good to see you guys. And well, obviously I know you, Jules, so it's good to see you. And actually I recognize some faces because I have been coming along to some of these sessions, because I think I've learned that no matter how much you've learned along the way, it's always good to sort of hear other people's perspectives. And we've had some really good speakers. In fact, my mind is still exploding from learning about finance last night, or yeah, your nighttime, my afternoon. So I am here because I just wanted to talk to you guys and to all the people that might watch me on replay. I did Paula's course last year. I can't believe it's been that long. Yeah, I did it in November time. And so here I am now. So I feel like I have enough experience now as a VA actually working to talk about my experience and sort of let you know. But I guess I should kind of start and just talk about myself and how I even ended up being here. But I am a military wife, like probably some of you in this room. And I kind of moved all over the place, and I started my career, what feels like an entire lifetime ago, as a nurse. And that's what I did when I graduated from university. And then obviously we have family and kind of kept moving around the world and collecting children. I now have 3 children and 2 dogs, but we just kept moving. And I'm not sure if any of you guys have children and have ever tried to move, but it's just so complicated. And then trying to figure out how to fit work around it is always really tricky. And I always, as the kids got older, I was really involved in school with them and would pick up sort of the PTA roles or the school governor or choirs, organizing events, and the secretary. And, I was always doing the volunteer things. So keeping my skills, I would do Excel spreadsheets, and I was always doing that kind of stuff, writing emails on behalf of people. So I was doing it, but I was never getting paid for it. And nursing just wasn't really an option with all of the moves. Right now I'm actually in Canada, so it would have cost me thousands of dollars to just get licensed to work here. So I decided that wasn't really a good plan. And yeah, then COVID hit, and I was like, oh my goodness, well, at least I'm not working, because life is crazy. But I think COVID's really changed everything. And last year, Paula did something similar to this, but she was advertising a mentor-led course. And so I saw some advertising about it. I didn't even know what a virtual assistant was, but I think one of the marketing strategies that she was using is like, want to work from home and have the freedom. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's me. That is me. And so I came along to something really similar to this last year. Paula ran a sort of like, what is a VA? What do you do? Kind of gave a few basics. And then I heard about the course because she was running a mentor-led course. And I was like, oh, can I do this? And it it was a really tricky decision. I not because I was like, oh, the money's too much. I mean, it was going to be an investment in myself, but I was like, oh, this is time. And like, will I actually be able to do it? I don't know if any of you guys, where you are in your journeys, but there is that sort of self-doubt and you're not really sure whether you can really make it happen. So I just kept going back and forth, and Paula was great. And I mean, if you guys have gotten to know her over this past week, and if you're in the Facebook group, I mean, she's so supportive and really, I had questions and she followed up with me. But something that we talked about, and sort of one of the quotes that kept coming up in the course last year, or in the sort of run up to the course, was this quote, and it was day one or one day. And I really sunk into me. I was like, oh, day one or one day. Like I kept, I just kept Googling. I was even thinking about like selling leggings to people here, like trying to do something. And I saw that sign, day one or one day. And I was like, I could actually do this. This is my sign. I mean, I went to TJ Maxx here, and it was a framed print, and it was just staring right at me. It said day one or one day. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's a sign. I even sent a message to Paula. It's an omen.
I know. I remember you texted me that photo. I couldn't believe it.
It was like, it really, so, I mean, maybe that was supposed to happen. Maybe I would have pulled the trigger and signed up anyways, but that sealed the deal for me. And so I did the course last year, and I honestly haven't looked back. I just wish that somebody had told me about being a virtual assistant before, especially now after COVID. So I don't know what you guys do right now, if you're sort of just starting out or have already been doing it for a while, but there are so many employers now that are just desperate to have people working from home, and everything's already set up. Like when Paula started doing this, how many years ago was it? Like 5, can't remember.
6 years.
6, yeah. So, I mean, that was kind of paving the way. Now everything is set up to be virtual.
Yeah.
So all the information's out there too. So I feel like that's the different, like this is the perfect time to do it. And
I would add to that, Katie, I totally agree. I think that if you think about it, I mean, 18 months, 2 years ago, how many of you knew about Zoom, or knew how to work Zoom? And look at you all now, you're all sat on Zoom, and this is our usual mode of communication. And the other thing I would say is there's been a lot of people starting up their own businesses. It's unprecedented, and so therefore there's more and more people looking for admin support. So it is a very busy time.
I think that's the thing, because you could kind of get scared and think, oh my gosh, well, everybody's doing things virtually now, but that means that there's demand for so many things. And I had no idea about what things a virtual assistant could do, but you don't just have to sort of like put things into spreadsheets, and there's so many different niches that you can go into. And I think that's a great thing, which I learned on Paula's course. You really like start at the beginning and you figure out what you actually like to do. And you might not know yet, and it evolves as you go on. And I'm pretty sure in the membership that if you guys end up joining the membership, it helps you from the very beginning. There's this roadmap, which I had in the course. And I have to say, I don't think that I would have been as successful. It's funny to say successful, but I actually am working. I'm getting a paycheck. I'm no longer. I actually had to like stop being the PTA mom this year. They're begging for me to come back, but I'm like, I really don't have time. I'm still involved with this school. I can't say bye to that, but I just, like I have my own stuff now, and it's amazing. I feel a bit sappy, but I couldn't have done this without Paula's course. So I'm so glad that I'm here now.
So what were the biggest concerns you had before you actually decided on the course? What was stopping you actually just diving straight in, do you think?
It definitely was my mindset. I think you just get in this sort of like stuck feeling like, can I really do this? And I was coming out of COVID with, having homeschooled 3 kids, and it kind of felt like everything was impossible. I was just like, oh my goodness. And it was a money thing too. I was like, am I going to spend this money? What if I don't succeed? It wasn't just my money, it was the family's money. And so I kind of like ummed and awed. But the thing is like with the course, I've made that back so many times now. And you know, with the membership, like that's like 2 hours of work. But there's like, I don't know, it just, I can't believe I hesitated thinking, oh, will I get this back? But it is that sort of doubt. But even in last night's session, she was talking about how you need to invest in yourself to make more money. And it's so true. Like you really do have to sort of put the money out there, be brave.
Exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, I found the same. I mean, when I started out, I felt, you know, I needed a new computer, and I thought, you know, is it going to be worth the money I need to buy a new computer? Am I actually going, is it going to be worth it? I mean, now how ridiculous that feels now, but that felt very real at that time, you know, so I totally understand that. But in terms of investing in yourself, I mean, whether it be, you know, learning to become a VA or whatever else it is that you're interested in doing, I always think it's money well spent, you know, because you're always feathering your nest. And when you're a VA, you'll know this as well, Katie, is that it's a continual learning, isn't it? And a lot of it isn't an investment in terms of money. It might be just an investment in terms of time. I mean, I've certainly invested both lots of money and lots of time in myself, because I'm an eternal learner and I love it. But, you know, you probably found in terms of investment in time, you've done a lot of learning as well since.
And that was a worry to me. I was like, oh, can I fit this back in? And you just, will I still be able to do everything that I want to do? Even with the coursework, I was like, oh, is this going to be too much? Does my brain even work like that anymore? But I think you really do just have to believe in yourself. And it was a mindset thing. And that's another great thing. So in all of the coursework, like mindset's kind of the common thread throughout. And it might feel a bit cheesy, like, oh my gosh, but it's so, you really do, because you can do anything. I mean, as I've been working for the last 7 months, I feel, I sometimes have this doubt. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't do this, but you can. Well, I refer back to the course stuff a lot because it's just really good to have the sort of basics. And then I have to say Google is my best friend. And I do like, if you have a question, Google can probably help you get there if it's something strange, but it's just kind of nice to also have all of the materials and just like not spend the time searching. So I do just kind of like having a reference manual to go back to.
I actually had a message from one of the other students on your cohort, I think, just recently. She delayed getting started because she was moving to Scotland, and she said she had to, oh no, it wasn't. Maybe it was actually Jules on this course. She was on the second cohort. She said, I've had to drag out your discovery call part of the course again because she had her first discovery call. It was you, Jules, wasn't it? Yeah. So it's good to know that it's still there and being helpful to you.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I like having that sort of framework and knowing where it is. It's just like really nice to have something organized, because you can spend a lot of time on the internet kind of trying to find things, and then some of it's so outdated. I mean, life has changed a lot in the last 3 years because of COVID, and so things are done a little bit differently. So it's nice to have some up-to-date materials.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And I do the same for things, that courses that I've bought. I love to dip in and out of them, just refresh my memory again. So and what about the community? How have you found that, the cohort that you went through and everything, and the advanced?
I think that's been one of the most special parts of being part of the community, because you do kind of become really good friends. I mean, people that I have never met in real life, but we did the course together. We text each other on Messenger, and we're friends now. But we really made each other sort of show up during the course, but also afterwards we have a check-in. And I think that has really made it for me, is just having people making you accountable. Paula is quite good at that too.
I can be a little bit, I was going to say mean, maybe not mean, but stern sometimes. You know, I have to, sometimes it's always out of love, of course, but you sometimes have to just push people along, and because I think there's that lack of belief in yourself. But so I think that's always you know, I remember with who is it? I can't remember which cohort she was on now, but one girl I'm thinking of at the moment that really had a lack of belief, and like, right, I want you to do this by this time, and that next meeting, what are you going to have done? You know, because I think sometimes we just all of us actually need that boot up the backside.
I feel like if you've told somebody that you're going to do it,
yeah,
you then feel this obligation, and you might spend that extra hour working on that, and instead of cleaning your house, you know, you're like, oh, I said I was going to do that. And actually, a lot of times it's more fun than cleaning your house anyways.
Oh, definitely. I don't know if you're all saw the session with Isabel on mindset, because Isabel is my business coach currently. We've worked together off and on over the years, and in fact she was there right at the beginning, so she's watched this whole journey, and I wanted her to help me with something. And I said, when we had our sort of new discovery call, if you like, I said this on the call the other night, I actually asked her, I said, Isabel, I need you to kick my ARSE, yeah. And she has, and that's how I respond. You see, I work better for like, right, have you done it? Where is it? You know, because that's what helps me. So I still need to be kept accountable. You know, I think a lot of us do. And I mean, some people don't appreciate this sort of, I'm not that mean. I wasn't that mean, was I? But sometimes I feel like some people just need that sort of extra push to get where they want, because they don't believe themselves. And it's so frustrating for me, because I can absolutely see that they've got it in them. There's just that mindset. It is mindset that's like stopping them move it forwards. But yeah, so I think there's a lot to be said for accountability, and actually it's going to be quite a big part of the membership, I think, and the community is going to be, you know, having each other.
But that's what I was going to say, is you also, it's this sort of like comfort level where you feel not scared to ask questions to people that are sort of in the same boat as you, or have just recently gone through it. You can let your guard down a little bit and ask the real questions. And that's what's really nice about the community, is sort of having that, because if you just post your question to the World Wide Web, it can be a bit intimidating. It's just, I don't know, something like, it's kind of like family, like it's really nice.
Yeah,
I really loved having that.
Yeah, that's nice. I'm so pleased that you've all formed such a supportive relationship as well. It's really nice to think that you've done that. One thing I hear quite a lot from people considering being a VA, or even in the early days of setting up as a VA, is that they one of the things that gets in their way is they say they don't know, they don't have enough experience or knowledge, or they just don't know all the things. It's a very common concern for new VAs, and I feel sure that that's something you've said in the past. What do you think about that?
Well, yeah, that was a big worry and kind of was holding me back a bit, because I was like, oh my goodness, there's so much stuff out there. Because if you start hearing about all of the different types of VAs that there are, and people are doing all this social media stuff, and they're doing all this marketing, and there's tons of technology that some of it's new. Sorry about that. So yes, there is that sort of fear that you need to know all of this stuff before you start, but you definitely do not. I mean, I would say that being a virtual assistant is about using what you already have and learning on the go. Because if you try to be good at all those things when you first start, and maybe you're really experienced and you do have all of those skills, and I might come and shadow you, but you need to just start with what you have. Like, everybody has skills from everyday life. We all use a computer. Hopefully you're here, you're using a computer. And you know, if you can use the skills that you already have, you can learn how to do it all. Like, I think that is what holds a lot of people back, because there's just all these scary names for these different things. Asana, Dubsado, like all this stuff is so foreign and terrifying. And I didn't know how to use those things. I didn't even know what Dubsado was. I remember learning about it in the course and Googling it and being like, oh my gosh, this thing does it all. And now I use it on a daily basis. I could even sometimes advise people on things. And I didn't know how to do that 7 months ago. I mean, it's so you learn stuff. And I think, I'm not sure if you guys are like me, but you kind of learn by doing. So you just need to be brave enough and have that confidence that you can figure it out. And so you're in a situation with your client and they're asking for something. I mean, you never have to fully admit like, oh, I don't know how to do that, because there's all the resources there. You know, there's always going to be somebody that you could call to help you out, or you can post in a Facebook group. You can have that, and you'll figure it out. If there's a will, there's a way. And I'm really a firm believer in that, because I was really nervous about all of the technology. And now I'm like, oh, I'll figure it out. So
yeah, you're quite a whiz with it. You've always been somebody who's just figured it out. In the beginning of I know we're going to do the same in the membership as well, but in the beginning of the mental led, I asked you all to sign up to what was it now, Trello and Toggle or Clockify and or Asana, and they were the 4 things. So time tracking software and project management software, the free and relatively basic softwares that none of you had heard of at that time. And I think there's sort of a bit of trepidation, but what I wanted you to do is I wanted you to clock in and out when you were doing the course, so you worked out, not because you need to know how long it took you, but I wanted you to get used to turning off and on. And you know, I would pay anyone £1,000 who hasn't forgot to turn it off.
I was going to say, you just did that. So so everybody would be like, oh, whenever I emailed them the next day and said that you've been doing the course for 12 hours and 45 minutes. You only have to do it a few times.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I mean, we all do it, but that was a gentle way to introduce you to some of the day-to-day, because when you actually start as a virtual assistant, I wanted those to be just completely common practice for you. And using a project management tool, and then later we introduced Slack, didn't we, as well? And I think that's really, really helpful. And then we and Canva later on. And I think, I mean, if nothing else, all of those, well, certainly the project management tool and Canva, most people would use that. You know, I've had so many people say to me, oh, it was brilliant to help my son do his homework, or, you know, that type of thing, playing around in Canva. So I mean, for me, I think Canva's great fun. I can get lost in it for hours, but I think that would be my advice to people that are in the early stages of setting up, is just get familiar with those things anyway, because you've got nothing to lose. They're quite fun to play around with. They're free, and they've got quite a lot of functionality, haven't they? Mm-hmm. And then that's something to build upon, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, yeah, Canva is very fun, but it's so useful, not just for like virtual assistant life. Like I do use it to sort of like help make cards. My daughter's designing a t-shirt in it. But all of these things are really useful. I was even using Clockify to help my son do his homework when I was sort of learning how to use it. I was like, right, we're setting a timer. Finish this math problem. You've got 1 minute and 20 seconds. So, I mean, all of the tools, once you start using them, you realize how you can better your own life using that. I mean, like the project management tools, I remember it was Lisa on our cohort. She was using it to help for her they were renovating their house and sort of redoing room, and you can use it. So, you know, if you're kind of worried to start, just pick a little project. So you want to paint your bathroom or whatever you're doing, like you can use that. You can like pin the different colors, and it's just all of these things translate to real world. So I don't know, the knowledge is amazing.
I think it was also Lisa that said she had her first discovery call, didn't she, before the course had finished, and she remembered meeting up with the person, and they were talking about their pain points, and Lisa was like, oh, you need to use this tool and that tool, and she said, I couldn't believe it, there I am, I didn't know it a few months ago, and now I'm recommending it.
I mean, you do become this expert. Not an expert. There's always more learning to do, but you do feel like you have a knowledge base to sort of inform others and use these tools so quickly. And well, I mean, there's all of the tech tutorials and things that I refer back to. Those are going to be in the membership, aren't they?
Yeah, we're trying to build on those actually. Yeah. I think that it's really helpful to just build up your knowledge on the tech, and shouldn't be worried about it. And what you find is that you keep on building on that all the way through. I'm still learning new things all the time, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And when you've got a couple of clients, it's really you feel really quite like you're doing a good job. It's really satisfying when you've learned something over here, and then you can help this person over here because you've got that knowledge now, you know, and whether or even building out your network. So you know, I've got one client that's doing a massive raise. He's trying to raise over $1 million for his software firm, And, you know, I've got another client over here that's looking for people where to start looking for investors. Well, I know all that because I'm doing that over here, you know, and I've even had a third potential client come in and I say, oh yeah, I've got I'm working with investors all the time, and I put out investor packs and I create. So what you build, what you're learning all the time, you will use time and time again, and it really makes you a really valuable resource, actually. And that's what's really, I find, very satisfying about the job. So how would you say that setting yourself up, how has it setting yourself up as a virtual assistant changed things in your life?
I mean, I definitely am busier. Sometimes I feel like I've added some extra children to my life. But it's just, you know, I have clients that have things that need to get done and demands, but I don't know, it's worked so well. Like, it hasn't really changed things dramatically. Like, we still did all of the holidays that we wanted to do this summer. I was able to work with my kids at home all summer long. Like, they didn't even really do any camps and things. And I would just work in the mornings and they would sort of like do their own thing, play outside, and then we'd be able to do stuff. I mean, the great thing about being a virtual assistant is you can kind of take your stuff anywhere you go. Like, there was some important stuff I needed to do for a client. So I did take my laptop and I had a couple meetings to do in the morning when we were away, but I was getting paid to be at a beautiful campsite. We bought a sort of big RV trailer thing to see Canada, but it's like, this is great. I'm like outside in the beautiful outdoors and still working. I don't know, it hasn't altered things. It's actually just been better. I just feel like I've gained so much confidence having my own work, and I think I don't know. I mean, I feel like I've sort of been following my husband around in the army for the last 14 years. And it's just really nice to have my own thing. So it's been really good. It's been such a positive change for all of us.
I guess it's important to also bring up anything that's been negative for you. What have you found that's been a challenge? What, you know, setting up as a VA or being a VA? Has there been some impacts in a negative way?
I can't really, I mean, I guess there's like less time to make dinner during the day. I might have to outsource and get a cleaner because I'm like, I would rather be working than cleaning my house. Those types of things. But those are like, I mean, yes, there's less time, but with any job, there would be that. I can't really think of any other negative things.
I'll tell you one thing I found quite, one thing I found quite tricky was, and actually still, even now, you know, my children are all a bit older than yours are, but for them to understand that I can't be interrupted because I'm working, you know, I mean, what I have to say to mine, I mean, mine are 17, 20 and 23, for goodness sake, and I still having to say it. But, you know, if I was working in an office, if I was going into work in an office, they wouldn't interrupt me like they feel like they can now, because they ring me during the day because they know I'm at home. And then if I can't pick up the call, it's like, you know, I'm on a call with a client, or, you know, and it's like, you wouldn't have done that if I was in an office. And I think there's a little bit about managing their expectations, your family, you know, who you share your home with. I think that's important. And I would say early on, the other thing was managing the boundaries of the clients, you know, knowing what your boundaries are and being a little bit more firm to stick to them, because you can say, oh yeah, okay, I'll do that. Yeah, okay, I'll do that. And in actual fact, you know, you find yourself working after 6 when you didn't really want to, you know?
Yeah, I do think, you know, if I was going to talk about things that I've kind of learned along the way, and I do believe that setting those boundaries is really important. It's quite tricky, and I'm sure I'll probably get better at it as I go through this. I think it's partly my personality type, and maybe some of you guys are the same. You just want to sort of please and do a good job. Like, I feel good when I've done a good job, but there are limits. So I think just setting boundaries, and that comes with time and, you know, the knowledge that you gain as you're doing it and sort of how to go about doing it. There's lots of things that I've learned and sort of like putting into practice as I'm going along. Just, you know, the time management and sort of blocking off my schedule and making sure that I'm sticking to it. Because I feel like once you get a few clients, you know, you need to just work in little chunks, and it can be kind of tricky because you could be getting interrupted. And so it's time management, which isn't something you need to know how to do before you start. Like it's something that you learn as you go along. And that's why I just want to encourage people. I just wish I'd known what a virtual assistant was. I'm kicking myself. I'm like, why didn't I start doing this 5 years ago? Because I'm not sure where you guys are in your journeys, but like you can fit it in, and you don't need to have 10 clients. Even if you just start talking to with your family. I mean, that's the thing. Like once I started telling people what I was doing, the inner circle that you have, like you could probably start working for so many people that you know. And I mean, if you've got kids, they're sort of dance school, they might need your help. It's just, there's so many places that you could just sort of dip in and build up your skills. And it's all networking. It really, there's so much opportunity out there.
It really is. I think that's really important. When I started out, my first, well, I kind of, my hand was forced a bit because, well, it wasn't forced, you know, but it was part of why I did it, was because the last job that I left in London, one of the guys left that place as well, and he started up his own business and asked me to help him with the admin. And then my boss wanted to write his memoirs and wanted some help. My ex-boss wanted some help with doing that. And good friends of ours have got pubs over in Norfolk, and they wanted their menu redesigned. You know, so there's all sorts of little things that come in that just start to fill up your time. And going back to your point in terms of time management, you're right. You don't need to know time management. Most of us can do it anyway because we've juggled a family or whatever. But you don't need to know time management. And I always talk about time blocking. But because it isn't a thing until you're a bit busier, and then you need to manage your time, and then you kind of learn it as you go, don't you?
Yeah. Because I was always in awe, because during the course, Paula would show me her beautiful, like all these chunks of colored squares on her Google Calendar. Should do that. And now mine's not as colorful, but I'm definitely getting there. And, you know, I think that's the thing, you guys will all end up getting clients, and then you might have to start really thinking about, are they your ideal client? Is this what you really want? Because it's really important. Like if you don't like what you're doing or who you're working for, work is a chore. And I don't think that any work should be like that. I mean, I think that's what we all strive for in our life, is to like what we're doing. So, you know, once you get a few clients, you can start to be picky, and you'll learn what you actually want to be doing. I think that's the other thing. Like I have this creative side, and I really hope that I can use it more in the future. Like I'm not sure that I'm going to be some sort of social media queen, but I love the idea of using Canva and Photoshop. Like I designed my own logo in Photoshop, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much to learn about this, but I loved it. I really like the learning and the creative side of things.
I spoke to a potential, well, no, not potential. I spoke to a new contractor that I brought on to help me out with some videos this morning, and she's a relatively new VA. She also did, she likes the arty crafty stuff, and very talented arty person. So she does sort of graphic design and video editing and stuff like that, and, you know, putting in the intros and outros and slides and, you know, music and what have you. And she said, oh, I'm actually got more time freed up now because one of my clients and I have decided to part ways, and so I've got much more time to. And I said, oh, right, we got talking about that, and I can't help myself trying to give her advice because she's quite new. And said she'd worked with her for like 3 months, and she was just the most rude, awful client she's ever come across, or person in life. And I just thought, that's really sad. You don't have to choose that person to work with. That, you know, that's not why you're self-employed.
Exactly. That's part of the freedom of this, is you get to be picky, like, and you show up because you want to show up. And I mean, I'm not saying like you don't like your client, you're going to just get rid of them, but you can make those choices, and you can kind of like choose your own path and find the clients that you want.
So on that basis then, Katie, you know, when at the beginning of the course, I asked you to look at your diaries and think about what you wanted to, what time you had available to work, and what your like working day was going to look like, sorry. And so for you, I'm assuming, given that you've got 3 children, you know, your working day is pretty much school hours, but I know you get up earlier to talk to me, but is that how you've like identified your working time, your availability?
Yeah, I just wanted to keep time for me. So like I want to make sure that I have time. I've got 2 dogs. One is still a puppy and needs a lot of attention. So I need enough time to still walk the dogs. I need to get fresh air and exercise. I want to be able to still go and meet friends for coffee, and the odd doctor's appointment or child's orthodontist. So I don't want to be so busy that there aren't any holes in my colorful schedule. I think that's what's great about this. Like I do have that. If I wanted to fill those up, because time is money, I could, but I think it's about having sanity and just, I don't know, at the end of the day, like you need to have time for you. And it's just great being able to work from home because I can still do a lot of the stuff, sort of amongst it. You know, I'll do a couple emails and press start on the dishwasher, you know, that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
but I am kind of fully booked. I think once we get into the swing of school, like I might look for another client. Oh, like I said about family, once you tell people what you're doing, I'm worried I might get a bit busy by family members' organizational needs. Paid, hopefully it will be. Well, my dad's wanting to barter oil changes for it, but I'm sure that there'll be some money in there.
Nothing wrong with a bit of bartering.
Yeah.
So in your mind, then I mean, I know you've got an imminent move really in the next, I don't know how long, how many months, 6 months or something?
Yeah, so 6 months. So we'll get busy, and I am sort of looking ahead at that because you need to make sure that when things are coming up, you know, Christmas is coming, that's always busy for everyone, but you have the choice, like you can take on more hours. And a lot of times I found that like if you have a client, they end up needing more from you than you realize. So there's always more work that can be done, especially these really busy people. And you know, all of a sudden you could be very busy.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I often say that when I'm doing discovery calls, I'll ask them how many hours they think it will be. And well, they come to you saying, I need this, this, and this. So let's say it's inbox diary management and I don't know, helping book flights, for example. And then you think, well, okay, based on what you're telling me you need help with, you know, I've got quite good at it now because I've done it for years. I know roughly how many hours that's going to look like a month. And I always caveat it with saying that month one's always busier because there's all the setup, we need to share passwords, you know, we want to get the systems going and how we work together. But you know, let's say, you know, off the top of my head, let's say we say it's like 20-hour a month contract. Always, without doubt, what happens is you get your feet in under the table. You're more efficient than they are at doing it, so you don't need 20 hours, but they always find, oh, you could maybe help me with this, and you can maybe help me with that, and your job description goes whoop, like that, doesn't it?
And I think too, it kind of matters where the client is in their journey. So that's what I've found with a lot of my clients. I mean, they're starting up, and so what they didn't realize is sort of like all the background things that need to get done, and all of those things take a lot of time. So it's just, I don't know, every client's different, and you'll see as you're going.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, startups you need to be a bit of a jack of all trades, and then, I mean, depends. This comes back to your ideal client really, and when I started, I had no idea who my ideal client was. I think I've said before, because my background is predominantly GP practice management, dental practice management. I thought I'd work in the healthcare arena, but I haven't had a single client ever in the healthcare arena, which is really interesting. But and I don't mind that because I've really loved looking into all the different areas of different businesses, and I didn't know what I wanted to niche into. People tell you to niche. It is easier to niche in terms of your marketing because you're directly, as Ross said the other day, you're directly talking to that particular person. But I honestly didn't know how to do that myself, so I did keep it pretty broad, I guess. but I think for me that's been good because I've worked out what I do and don't like, because I've tried a bit of everything.
I think you kind of need to do that. And I mean, I do know that the advice, and even when we were going through the course, like, yes, niching down from the very beginning, and maybe you do have certain skills. I remember that one of the girls in my cohort, she loved sort of like systems and processes, and she was like an SOP whiz. That puts me to sleep. But she knew she loved that. I mean, she got a job during the course. She started like,
she got
her hefty salary as well. But you know, so it depends what you do.
It was with the council, wasn't it? It was a council contract. It was a very nice one.
I was so amazed. She's doing great, by the way. But this is the thing, we still keep in touch, all of us, and sort of like pop in. I think everyone has jobs, which is pretty amazing. I don't know what the stats would be on that, like 95% of people working, and like that other 5% is because they are in the middle of demolishing their house.
So, no, that is good.
But I wouldn't have been able to do it without the course. I really wouldn't. And I felt really, I just, you know, when you like think about sort of that sliding doors moment, like if you hadn't, I think about that a lot. I mean, with all aspects of my life, but most recently, how much my life has changed in the last year. I mean, because even when I finished the course, like at the end of January, I was like, oh, it's like, is this going to work? And then here I am now, and I'm like, wow. It's just,
I think it is about the confidence and just getting that first client. Once you do, you're off, you know, and quickly get booked up. It's unbelievable, you know. And as I've said many times before, that's what's trying to demonstrate with what hours you've decided is your availability, because everybody's version of booked up is different, isn't it? You know, and there's no right or wrong. So, but that's great.
Well, that's a great thing. It doesn't have to be 9 to 5, and you can work around whatever you're doing. I mean, if you are already doing other work, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, can I start doing this while I still have full-time work? Because it's kind of scary to leave your full-time job and be like, right, I'm going to go be a virtual assistant. But you can work around. I mean, there's a lot of job opportunities. Well, I've seen some that you've been posting lately. Like they want evening hours, like UK-based evening hours. Some people don't even want to ever have you on a certain time scale. So you could be doing it in the morning before they go to work. Like there's so much opportunity.
There is. And I think that again comes down to you looking at what you want to work. Because I think that if you did a traditional PA, EA type of role, you kind of have to be available Monday to Friday and off and on throughout the day. But you know, you'd be used to that if you're a PA or EA, because you're that person's right-hand person. You know, I've known, you know, clients be in France and they can't find their return ticket in their emails, or, you know, and it's like 7 o'clock at night. So those types of roles, you kind of have to be a bit more reactive. But if you did something like social media or bookkeeping, or, I mean, in all honesty, I'd probably say 80 to 90% of the VA roles can be done whenever you want to do them. But there are some that do demand the sort of 9 to 5 brackets. And as you quite rightly said, you know, the other thing is if you like to work evenings, then maybe your client base is in America, you know, and if you're in the UK.
I mean, so you guys know that I'm in Canada, which isn't forever. It's just an army posting, which will sadly come to an end because we've loved it being here. But it's really suited me being out here. And one of my clients is, I'm an executive assistant for a woman that is traveling all the time. But the fact that I'm here is amazing, because she's in the States sometimes, or she is traveling at weird hours. And we've set some boundaries. She's not like texting me or emailing me at crazy hours, but she knows she can. And she loves having the ability that when she's finished her sort of working day, she can still get a hold of me because I'm 5 hours behind her, and it works beautifully. So I wouldn't just only look at jobs in the UK either. I mean, there's so much. I mean, that's the thing about this, you know, it's no longer just this little island of England that you can work in. Like, you can work with people all over the world, and there's tons of jobs. And I mean, there's so many ways. I did a lot of research on it, but getting paid in other currency, there's hardly any issues with it right now at all. Now that there's wise, and all of these ways to sort of transfer money, it doesn't matter. So your hours may suit, like if you want to work, if you're working during the day and you want to work after your 9 to 5, look for jobs in America. There's tons. Like, honestly, like I said before, COVID's changed it all.
Yeah, I've got a client that's in the States and all of her team are in the UK. She likes working with British people, just the way she feels. We could talk all day, Katie, but I think that we ought to allow some time for any questions. I love hearing your story back. It's really nice. So if anybody's got any questions, please do take yourself off mute, or do you want to just join in the conversation? Then we're both here just to have a chat and you know, put anything to bed that you've been pondering, or anything we can help with. Then just feel free to share with us. Anybody got anything? Oh, Jules.
I've got a question actually, Katie. And I'm kind of hoping that other people might have an opinion too. It's because I'm potentially just, you know, hopefully signing a client soon. How did you go from that kind of first step of starting out? How did you kind of portray excellence and confidence, but still obviously managing expectations that this wasn't something that you were experienced in obviously you've got plenty of experience, but in terms of this is your first client, but kind of not, I wouldn't say not letting on that they're their first client, but it's that sort of leap from 0 to 1. It's like having your first baby. You don't know what you don't know.
Yes, and then you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, then you have like 3 more kids and you're like, that was so easy. Just fake it till you make it. No, I'm kidding. But it is a little bit about that. It is sort of, when I was talking about before, when you are speaking with your client and you don't 100% know, but you know that it's in your range of capabilities, you just need to say yes. And something will pop into your head that you learned in the course or that you've seen like in your research time. Like, oh, I think that would be really good. And you just, they don't know. They're not going to question you. I mean, I think the thing is, and what I've learned so much in the last 8 months is that actually like your clients need your help. They actually really trust you. They've already asked you to work with them. So they've already found something that they like in you. They trust you. And we're all small women here. Like we really like it comes, and you just kind of have to sort of like grin and bear it. And after the first couple of times when you're like assigned something that you're not 100% sure that you know how to do, and then you can easily figure it out. And I'm not going to lie, like it took me extra time to do stuff in the beginning. And I wasn't charging that time because I was like learning on my feet. But then it's like, you just get faster and you're like, oh, and it just clicks and you'll be fine, honestly. So don't worry about it. Because I think that's the thing. It can be really nerve-wracking. Even those first interactions with your client, it's the nerves and you feel, and that doesn't go away, but that also helps you do better. It's one of those things that kind of gives you that kick up the butt. Like you'll be great. So just have the confidence in yourself. It's mindset again.
I'd agree. I think there is always that trepidation when you first start out with a client, and especially in the first few clients that you have. But what I'd remind you is, Katie's absolutely right. They've seen something in you that they know, like, and trust. So there's the trust is pretty much there. You're just reinforcing it by doing the job. But they've taken you on because the likelihood is that you do know more than them, and you probably do, but you just don't feel like you do. So in my experience in the early days, the things I found the most tricky was, making sure I could get into their emails okay and log into everything. And there's all this 2-factor authentication that causes quite a bit of a headache. And for busy people, you feel a bit like, sorry to nag again, you've got to let me in, but once all of that is done, you're away, and the only thing I would say is communication is key. So just keep communicating with them, like how you've done. Don't over communicate. If they've said to you, I don't like emails, don't keep dropping in their inbox with great big long emails, but it's really important to, and that's a good question to ask on a discovery call. How do you like to communicate? Because some people, I've got voice messages on my phone, I've got WhatsApp, I've got Slack, I've got emails. So get that information, but do keep them really informed of how you're doing, you know, so that that trust builds in those early days as, oh yeah, she's doing that, oh I can see she's done that, you know, that type of thing. And that really helps that trust to build just that bit quicker.
And it happens quite quickly. You'll establish that relationship about how they want to work. And I mean, you are, yes, they're sort of your client, your boss a little bit, but you're not, you're the boss too. So how do you like to talk to these people? Like, do you want them texting you on WhatsApp?
Yeah.
Do you want to communicate by emails? Because you do have some say in that. And whenever you're setting up your sort of guidelines, I'm not sure if you're making a welcome pack. There's a really good template that I used, provided by Paula. But those are the things that I sort of highlighted in there, and just, you know, when I was available, and give it to them. They will read it. And if they haven't, and then you're running into problems down the line, that's been put out there.
Yeah.
Also, just going through that and making a welcome pack really helps it be in your head. So when things aren't working in that way, you're like, this isn't what I thought. And it can evolve. Like, you could change it as you get more clients and sort of your time is busier. But yeah, that's something really important.
Yeah, that I definitely recommend having a welcome pack, because as you say, well, when you create it, it forces you to think about what your boundaries are. But then when if you run into a problem later on and that they're, you know, trying to do something outside what you've put in your welcome packet, you can refer back to the pack and say, oh, I'm not sure, because sometimes they might not have read it, but that's their fault, not yours. And just to reiterate the point that Katie made there, is that you're self-employed and you need to move from, sorry, I keep looking over there because that's where I've got all your images, but my camera's here. You're self-employed, you're your own boss, you are not an employee. So whilst they're your client, you're not an employee, and removing that employee mindset is really, really key. You know, you don't have to ask for holiday, you tell them when you're taking holiday. You know, you don't have to ask for time off, you don't have to ask to go to the dentist. It's I'm not available at that point because I have an appointment, you know. And I mean, let's be honest, you need that fairness. You know, I always say we try and give 2 weeks notice if we're going to take time off, but you need to take your employee hat off and put your self-employed hat on as well. That's a really, really important point.
Yeah.
Has anybody else got anything they want to ask? Hi, Annabelle.
Hi. Sorry, maybe a question as well for everyone. I was working, so far I work as an associate, so I don't have any proposal to send, so it was the best part. But today I've, following a discovery call, I have a proposal to send. So I found some templates online, but I just wanted to have like a feedback about the key point to highlight, or if you have some tips or...
Sure. Yeah, so what following a discovery call, I usually send a proposal, and I let them know I'm going to send a proposal, unless they just say, yes, I want to go ahead, and then I miss that point out. But and I let them know I'm going to send a proposal and when they can expect to receive it. And then when I've sent it, because we use a CRM and there's a risk of it going into spam, I usually follow it up with an email just saying, just to let you know that the proposal should be in your inbox. So in a proposal, essentially you're going to cover off what you've discussed on the discovery call. So I usually start with, you know, thank you for your interest in working with me. I'm really excited to, I really enjoyed learning about your business. From our call, what I understand is that I usually bullet point the things that they said that they want help with. And then I also always, we've actually got a template on how to do this. Katie, can you remind me afterwards to send it to Annabelle and she can use it?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
But we do bullet points of what they've said they want help with, but always put a last bullet point of and anything else commensurate with this role or anything else that fits under this umbrella. You know, I'm not saying I'm not sticking to those bullet points, but this is what I heard you say that you need help with. And then I usually say, based on this conversation, I think that this is how many hours you're going to need. This is the packet. We usually try to always sell a package, but when I started out, I did ad hoc and did it retrospectively. It's really up to you. I think if you lack the confidence to go for a retained package, then I understand, because I was the same. But if you can go for a retained package, it's much easier for you to deal with it. So say, based on our conversation, I think that I recommend we start off on the 20-hour a month package, and that's going to be this rate, and that's charged monthly. And then I usually put a few bullet points out of my contract so that they know what they're going to be signing up to. So I usually, in my contract, the things that's going to be relevant to them is it's a 30-day notice period that they'd be signing up to, and we invoice in advance, and they've got 7 days payment terms. What else? I think I put in there about we take 5 weeks a year, but we always try and give 2 weeks notice for our time off. We work UK hours 9 till 5, and we take all bank holidays. So just the really relevant bullet points that's in your contract, so that they've got a quick overview of what they're likely to be signing up to. And then in the final, at the bottom, ours, because it's in this CRM, we've got this opportunity to say, do you agree to this proposal? And there's a click yes or a click no, and there's an opportunity to put notes. But you could put something like, you know, please, the other key point is to say how long you want that proposal to be valid for. Because what you don't want to do is, say you're brand new, I don't know your situation, but say you're brand new and you're a bit nervous, and I'm only going to charge £25 an hour because I can't possibly charge £30 an hour. So you've quoted a £25 an hour, 20-hour package, and then they come back to you in a year's time and say, I want that proposal. Oh, but my rate's £30 an hour now. You know, so just make sure you always put in there how long the proposal is going to be valid for. I would say maybe, it's up to you. I would say maybe a month is about fair.
Yeah, that's I suggest.
Yeah, and then maybe ask them to respond in whatever way you want them to respond to accept this proposal, and invite them to have another conversation if they have any questions about it.
Okay, and so regarding the contract, do you change the contract to each client? Because, you know, sometimes you have client for years, sometimes you have client for shorter period, or do you adapt each time the contract? Because, for example, for me, I bought some contract from Coffee Clubs that you probably know.
Yeah.
And so the thing I don't want to spend it's time consuming, you know, to adapt the contract each time. So I don't know what to do, if I need to send them the usual contract or to adapt each time with each client.
What I would
It's relevant, or
what I would do is just check the contract. I don't remember hers. I am an affiliate of hers, so I do recommend her contracts, but I don't remember them off the top of my head because we've since had our own written. But I would have the contract, read through it, and see if there's any point where you're meant to fill in, at the rate of £20 or something. If there's bespoke information that goes in the contract, I would try to reword it so that you don't have to put in the £20 in there. And I would have the contract set so that you don't need to change anything, that it's relevant to every single client. And then I would have like an appendix at the bottom, and have, you know, your name, your business name, and signature and date signed. You can do all of that in HelloSign or DocuSign. Free. You get three a month, I think, free. And then have their name, their signature, date signed at the bottom, and you can put in there in a appendix the details of, like, this is a 20-hour per month contract at whatever, £400, £500, £600 a month, whatever it is, and put that, just so you're only changing the appendix rather than the contract. Because I have once forgotten to change something and sent it out to a client, and it was just felt awful. So the less you have to do of that, the better.
Yes, that's why.
Yeah, well, because it's easier to find for you because it's down at the bottom.
Yeah.
Is great. But the clients also reading that, it's easier for them to find, it just sticks out more. I really suggest doing that. So
Yeah.
even if you have a contract that you've bought that has the blurb about the hourly rate within it, I would find a way to make that more general, like Paula was saying, and put it down at the bottom. I think it just really helps everyone.
Yeah.
And if you can send me the template, it will be great as well.
Sure, yeah,
Thank you very
yeah.
much.
If I forget, then please just message me and I will send. It's a busy week this week, so
Do you
don't
want
worry
to
about
put your
nudging me.
email address in the chat?
Yes, sure.
And so we're at the top of the hour now. Is there anything else before we hop off, anybody? Can we help anybody with anything? No? Oh, all quiet on the Western Front. Well, I've really enjoyed talking to you, Katie, and listening to your perspective in detail, really, your whole journey. So thanks so much for sharing that with us, and thanks for giving us your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm sure everybody else got great value from that. So just to reiterate that tonight is our final session, and we're going to be looking at success path, and that's just really, I just wanted to have a general chat about what else there is in terms of growing your VA business and where you could take that. So we mightn't be as long as an hour tonight, but I just wanted to sort of open up your eyes. You might be right at the very beginning of your journey, but I wanted you to know that there's the opportunity for growth should it be something that you want. So just going to be covering that off tonight, and then, as I said, we've got a Q&A next week. Next week Tuesday, which you should have information in your PDF of the dates of everything's on. So I hope that's been helpful. Enjoy the rest of your day. Look forward to seeing you tonight, and I'll say goodbye for now. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.